Let's move on. There is a similarity, and maybe Ed at some point can start by telling us the difference. There's an overlap between what Ellen does and what Ed does. Ed is also a vocational rehabilitation counselor, but he functions more from the, I think he does similar things, but functions more from the standpoint of the loss of employability, what the ability is of the person to work and how to take that and create it into dollar loss from the loss of the ability to work. So Ed has been coming here, as he says, for the full 30 years that we've been running seminars as a rehabilitation counselor who's worked as a vocational consultant, has been an expert witness for certainly over 30 years, and is well known to all of us here in New Jersey and really nationally, because there isn't a convention that you can go to any place in the country involving trial lawyers that Ed Pravda isn't there sharing his knowledge with us. So Ed, if you would join us.
Thank you, Jerry. Let me say that what I'm going to talk about is strictly vocational. In fact, what Ellen does lays a nice foundation for me to do a vocational evaluation and loss of earning capacity evaluation. In fact, Ellen used to work with me many years ago in New York City. I'm going to talk about proof of loss of employability using a vocational expert in personal injury cases. First question is, why use a vocational expert? You want to use a vocational expert to document the damages in your case dealing with employability and earning capacity. Your vocational expert's going to talk about such things as, can your client return to his prior work? Could he do the full range of his prior work? Could he perform some other type of work that he could use his previously transferable skills or knowledge or education that he had learned before? Could he do any type of work, maybe of an unskilled nature? Could he work on a full-time or could he work on a part-time basis? And can the person work on a sustained competitive basis? You want to use a vocational expert because you want to determine the worth of your case. Without having a vocational expert where there is a loss of earning capacity, you really don't know the value of your case until you use a vocational expert and they formulate an opinion as to the earning capacity of the plaintiff. You may want to use a vocational expert to move your case towards settlement. I always say the best way to settle a case is to prepare the case for trial. And so certainly you want to use a vocational expert because it adds to your case, adding to your physician's reports, basically showing the other side that you're serious because you retained a vocational expert. A vocational expert is part of what I term the attorney's toolbox that could be used at trial. We're able to come in and talk about the impact of the injury on the person's ability to work. And lastly, a vocational expert can document the case damages in an objective, clear, and demonstrative way in front of the jury. What type of cases are you going to use a vocational expert on? The key component of that is that you must have a case or a plaintiff that has a permanent injury. That means an injury that's not going to get any better. When a vocational expert sees the plaintiff, one of the assumptions he or she makes is that the person is not going to get any better. Just as he sees him in that particular day is the way he's going to be for the foreseeable future. The type of case that the person's been injured in is really not very much consequence to the vocational expert. We've been used in automobile accident cases, medical malpractice cases, products liability cases, premises liability cases, and all other types of personal injury cases. Vocational experts work with a variety of different disabilities. We work with people that have injured knees, torn medial meniscus, herniated cervical or lumbar discs. Of course, lumbar discs are probably the most prevalent type of cases we see. Spinal cord injuries. We do paraplegics and quadriplegics. And one of the things that you should not assume is that because a person has a spinal cord injury, that it totally negates their ability to work. There are many people with spinal cord injuries that work. We also do upper and lower extremity amputations. I probably see a couple lower extremity amputations per year. This year, for some reason, we've seen 8 lower extremity amputation cases. We do loss of vision, blindness or loss of one eye, loss of hearing, traumatic brain injury. What we do in those type of cases is we look at the impact of the cognitive limitations on the person's ability to function in the world of work. When we do our testing, we dovetail the testing with the neuropsychological evaluation that's been done, and we purposely administer a battery of vocational tests to the person with a traumatic brain injury to measure the impact of the brain injury on their ability to do worker-type functions. We also work with emotional limitations. Most of the cases we have that deal with emotional limitations are secondary to a physical impairment. Currently, we have a case now that we're working on where the person sustained an amputation to his non-dominant thumb. However, this particular injury has caused a lot of pain in his non-dominant hand, but he has a severe depression that's resulted in him being hospitalized several times due to suicide attempts, and he's currently receiving weekly psychiatric care. So that, of course, has a very big impact on the person's ability to work in a competitive basis. Now, who are vocational experts? Well, we are vocational rehabilitation specialists. We've had training and experience working with persons with traumatic or congenital disabilities. We have experience in counseling disabled people and placing them in jobs, which is very important. We're able to locate opportunities that people that are disabled are able to perform, given their functional limitations. And again, you heard that word functional limitations, you should think of Ellen, because she'll sometimes lay a foundation as to what those functional limitations are. We're knowledgeable in employment opportunities and earnings for jobs that disabled people can do. We're knowledgeable in labor market, local and national labor market, as well as the labor market information published by the state or federal government. What are the qualifications of a vocational expert? First thing that you should look at is you want somebody who has a master's degree in rehabilitation, because that's the professional degree in this field. You want somebody who is a certified rehabilitation counselor, which is the national certification of rehabilitation counselors. Another thing you should look for is whether they're a member of the American Board of Vocational Experts. This organization consists of 400 experienced vocational experts who have done work for the federal government in their Social Security program and have been able to transition themselves from Social Security into doing personal injury type cases. You want somebody who's been a member or is a member of the International Association of Rehabilitation Professionals in the Private Sector, as they have a special forensic division that does training and meets on a yearly basis. Most importantly, you want a practitioner, somebody who has hands-on experience in working with disabled people and placing them in jobs. Desirable is somebody who's been trained and served as an expert for the federal government in Social Security disability cases. This is extremely important if you do federal district court work, because the federal district court judges basically believe that once your expert has been employed by the federal government, that they're always an expert, always a vocational expert. So that makes your expert Daubert-proof in a federal district court case dealing with employability issues. And you also want to have an experienced witness, and this has already been discussed. Now, how do you find a vocational expert? Well, there are 129,500 rehabilitation counselors in the United States. That number kind of surprised me a little bit. However, there's only a small percentage, less than 1,000 practitioners who do vocational expert work in the United States, and there are about 10 of us in the New York, New Jersey area. In order to locate a vocational expert, you could look in the New Jersey Law Journal or Trial Magazine. There are various directories online, almexperts.com, expert pages, jurispro.com, and hdexperts.com. There are various directories, hard copy directories, SEEK, Expert Witness Directory, Lawyers Desk Reference, and the National Directory of Expert Witnesses. And as Jory said, you could put an inquiry to a colleague or on the listserv. We get a large amount of our cases from referral, word of mouth. Now, if you don't take anything out of this presentation, this is the most important part. In order to prove your damages, I look at it as a house, a three-part damage process. The first part is your foundation for your house, and that's what the physician is going to require. He's going to lay that foundation, and he's going to talk hopefully about residual functional capacity. what your plaintiff can and cannot do. The amount of time he could sit, stand, walk, lift, carry, bend, kneel, stoop, squat, all those things are things we want to know from the physician who's going to lay the foundation for the house. The next part is the frame of the house, and that's me, the vocational expert. I look at the impact of the injury on the person's ability to work and their ability to earn money. The last part of it is the roof, and that's provided by the economist. They will take my information and they'll project that information, the loss of earnings, over the particular individual's work-life expectancy. Of course, when you come to trial, each expert will educate the jury as to their findings, and without having it done in the way that we have building the house, you have a problem. Commonly, an attorney will use a physician to talk about employability issues, or they may use an economist without a vocational expert. And these are major, major problems that you're going to have when you get into court. You must have all three experts in order to create a tight package to present to the jury regarding the damages part of your case. Now, we're going to talk about the vocational analysis and the actual vocational evaluation, which is a four-part process. And what we want to do in the vocational evaluation is we want to answer some questions. Can the person go back and do their old job? Can they go back and do their old job with some sort of limitation? Do they have any particular skills or abilities through education or training that they could perform some job that may require less physical demands? And we call that by the fancy title of transferability of skills analysis, which we do using a computer program. If they can't do that, can they do either a sedentary light job of an unskilled nature? Could they work part-time? Could they work full-time? These are the questions we want to ask through the vocational evaluation. The evaluation consists of four parts. The first is a document review. We would like to review all the medical records, the hospital reports, the consultative reports. If it's a child, we'll want to see the grade transcripts, the school records, videos, whatever documentation that you have that will assist us in understanding the case. Also, we'd like to see wage information. Next, I conduct a standard diagnostic vocational interview where I obtain background information regarding the plaintiff's age, their education, their past work experience, and how the impairment is affecting their ability to work. I take a history of their treatment because I want to make sure I have all the documentation that's available regarding his treatment. Then I will administer a battery of vocational tests to see what the person can and cannot do. The testing could be achievement testing, skill testing, dexterity, coordination, could be tool use, big and small tool use. And how this testing differs from something that Ellen would do is that I'm looking at the speed and the rate that the person's performing the testing and comparing it to people that are working in industry. Because one of the things I'm measuring is, can this person work at a sustained, regular, competitive basis?
And these tests, because I've been in your office and watched you do them, can take hours.
Yes. The testing, the whole evaluation takes anywhere from 2 to 4 hours, and I observe the person throughout the entire testing. I'm observing them throughout, comparing their test scores to people that are working in industry, and I'll give several tests that measure the same vocational construct because I'm looking for consistency in the test performance. So it's very important to do the testing. There are some experts that do this work, they do no testing whatsoever, and you should be very leery of that because there's nothing like looking at the type of work you think a person can do and actually observing them while they're trying to do those types of jobs.
Anyone videoed you yet during your tests?
Actually, I've done a number of cases where the district court has stated that my evaluation has to be videoed. Interestingly enough, on every one of those cases, the cases have settled because I guess they get to see the interview portion and what I learned through the interview, as well as the testing and the way the person performed the testing.
Just picture the quality of the evidence when you have someone. It's one thing for a doctor to come in and say, "Oh, he's impaired. He can't do all the functions of his job." And for the client to get up in the stand and say, "Hey, I can't do the work that I used to do." But to have someone like Ed who knows what work has to be done in the marketplace to be able to recreate that specific function and show how this particular injured person is not able to do the functions of his job is a whole lot more than just somebody saying it. he could really bring it to life. And I think if we can video